ready to edit our Thinnium. This is the knockout that we're doing on white. We shot this with the D810, and I've picked 3 images here that I think we're going to be able to use to accomplish our task here. So this will be just kind of a introduction into some compositing. We're going to have to merge a couple of images here to get one final image. We were originally hoping to get a nice straight edge on the product that we could use much like they're rendering on their website. Unfortunately, this product, while it looks smooth, it's actually not absolutely smooth. There are a little bit of ripples and dimples in it, as well as our card has some ripples and dimples in it, so it didn't give us quite a straight line that we wanted. An easy enough fix when we get into post. We can straighten it out very easily. It's close. The tonality difference that we need is there. One of the other things I'm looking at is this area down here is very dark, so we have another exposure that we're going to use just for that area over there. And then this last one we're going to use for the Thinnium logo. This is a little bit hard to see. I want to be able to bring that out. Trying to select it off of 2 different tonality backgrounds is going to be very tough. It'll be much easier to select it here and then just copy it over, and we can juice it up a bit there. So I'm going to try to bring all 3 of these in to Photoshop. And let's see, I think 8-bit is fine for this. They're just being used on the web, so we don't need to bog down my computer with 16-bit images for this portion of the retouching tutorial here. We'll get these opened up, and then we need to get a couple of them on the same layer here. So this is the one for the lower area. This is our base layer, and this is the one for the logo. So this is our base layer. So let's go to the move tool and let's drag this over to our base layer here and let it go. And with any luck, it'll line up the way we want it to. So it's just a little bit off. No worries. We'll double click the background, turning that into an actual layer instead of a locked background layer. We'll highlight them both, edit, auto align layers, and I find the auto setting usually works pretty well for this. Okay. And if any luck, it will align our layers directly on top of each other so that we don't have any movement between one and the other. And it looks like it did a pretty good job here. Let's zoom in and see how it actually looks here. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. It looks like it lined up really, really close. So I think that's going to work out for us. All right, so the next thing I want to do is mask this top layer out because we don't need much of it. So I'll put a layer mask on it. We'll grab our brush and we'll come in here and we'll just brush in a little bit of this area here. I'm using my Wacom tablet with which is a pen tablet here, so that I can just very easily brush this in. My opacity and my flow are both at 50%, and I'm just going to start to brush in some of this area here. Let me invert the mask so that it's not showing. Now I will start to brush in some of this area, and I'm not worried about painting off of the edge of the product yet because we're going to knock this out anyway. It's going to get knocked off onto its own background layer, so it'll be a non-issue for us when we get to that point. Don't want that little highlight there. I'll zoom in a little bit more. We'll go to a little harder edge brush, and I'll just whoops, get that edge back there. Just paint this in very easily, light, just a light brush. Brush in that area, and I don't want it super bright. I just wanted a little bit more value than what we had there. So that's what we had. That's what we got. Just brighten it up a little bit. Helps it kind of match the other side a little bit. I think I'm going to try to bring in a little bit in here as well. I'm going to go ahead and take our opacity up to 100% and our flow. Let's just bring this in a little bit. I noticed there's a little bit of color in this. It's probably a reflection from my hand casting color down here. No problem. Easily resolved. Paint this in, just helps bringing the values up just a little bit. I may have to go grab another image that actually has even a little bit brighter in this area, but let's see what we can do with this one here first. you'll get the concepts here, you'll understand what we're doing, and then you'll be able to play around with this and spend a little more time on it than I'm going to do. And you can really get it dialed in pretty nicely. So I think that helps. It's just a little bit brighter, and we'll get rid of that red later. Okay, so that's good. That's a good start. So the next thing I want to do is come in and just straighten up this edge, I think. I think we can come down and let's zoom in. We'll make a duplicate of this layer. And what I'm going to do is grab my pen tool, and I'm going to start up here on this edge, and I'm going to wrap around this corner here. And we'll just run right down the line to this edge. And around the corner. We'll move this in just a tad. There we go. And I will kill that anchor point, and we don't need to go any further than that. So now I can just close this off, and you'll see what I'm doing here in just a minute. Okay, so I got that path. I'll right click on that. I will make a selection, and I'm going to feather it by a pixel just to be on the safe side here. So we'll get a clone tool, and we're at 90% opacity and flow. That's fine. And I'm just going to start cloning from this area, and that will get rid of that. That'll give us that nice straight line. You notice I went right over the logo. Not worried about that at this point. I've got a way that we can solve that when we get to it. We're going to use that other layer. Let me go to View, Show Selection Edges. Let's get rid of that and see how we're doing. It's looking pretty good. Come back in here and just paint just a little more. Our selection is still there. It's just hidden. We've hidden our selection, but it still exists. I hit it so I could see what I'm doing a little bit easier here. Good. I think that looks pretty good, so I'm happy with that. I like it's got a nice S there. It comes down, runs along the edge. I think we're looking pretty good. Now, one of the issues here, when we were shooting this, I kept stopping down my aperture further and further. You know, I think we started at 11 or something, went to 16, went to 22. And this is where you start to run into limitations with depth of field. Using a long lens and very close to your subject, both of those things cause shallow depth of field. So we were using a long lens and we were close to our subject. So we had kind of a double whammy there, which means that our far edge here started to fall off in focus. Even at f22, you can see we're not super sharp on this far edge. This is where focus stacking comes into play, and we'll go over focus stacking a little bit later in another segment of the tutorial, but for now I just want you to see kind of one of the limitations that you can run into trying to get a single image. Let me go to the pointer here. Trying to do a single image like this at an angle where you have a lot of depth of field that needs to be covered. Fortunately, this image is only going to be used on the web, and we knew that going into it, and so I didn't do a focus stack because we're going to do a knockout here, and when I do the knockout, we're actually going to cut right inside that edge, which will help sharpen that edge up. It'll give the illusion that it's actually sharper than it is. But if this was a hero shot, an advertising shot, we would definitely want to do a focus stack here. Again, we'll get into that a little bit later. I just want you to recognize this for now and understand that that can be a limitation of your lens. Even if your lens goes beyond that, I think the one we were using went to f32, you start to run into diffraction issues. And without going into detail, diffraction basically is where you start to compensate sharpness for depth of field. Diffraction is where your lens starts to get some irregularities in how the light is hitting that lens because your aperture is so small, how the light comes through that lens and hits your sensor, I should say. And it causes you to lose sharpness. Yes, you pick up depth of field, but it's kind of a trade-off because you do start to lose that sharpness. So you want to try to find that sweet spot in your lens, and usually it's somewhere in the middle, you know, f11, f16, maybe the f8, you know, it depends on the lens. You really have to shoot it and look and kind of see where the sweet spot of that lens is, and that's going to tell you where you want to spend most of your time to shoot. It's not to say the images outside of that aperture are unusable. It's just to say that if you're going for optimum sharpness, then you need to be aware of what those sweet spots are in your lens. The next thing I think we need to do is go ahead and cut this product out. Let's get it cut out and let's put it on, knock it out onto that white background. So we're going to do that with the pen tool. Alright, so I'll select my pen tool over here, and if you haven't used the pen tool much and you're going to be doing product photography, you really got to attack that head on. The pen tool is something that we use with great regularity, and it's a tool that a lot of photographers don't want to dive into because it's not easy. It does take some practice, but as anything that's worth doing, takes practice. So you know, you got to experiment with it just a little bit and get proficient with it. And I'll be quite honest with you, even I don't spend that much time using the pen tool because we send a lot of this stuff out to outsource and have somebody else do our paths for us with the pen tools, and then we will take that and copy the path over to whatever product was that we needed the path created for. This just saves us a lot of time. There's companies out there that will do this service for you very, very cheap. They'll do it for, you know, $2, $3 to create complex paths, and it's really going to take me a lot longer than that to create a path that way. And so it's just not worth my time when I can have it done for just a couple of bucks. I might as well have somebody else tackle that for me. So we do, and a lot of them are overseas in India or whatever, and you know, the nice thing is that we can shoot all day, and then at the end of the day we can send those off and to have clipping paths done, and by the time we come back in the morning they're ready, they're in our inbox ready to go. So that's kind of a nice thing that, you know, we can shoot all day, drop them off, come back in the morning, we're ready to start getting into our edit, and we don't have to spend the time to do a clipping path. You know, I'm sitting here doing this, and it's still going to take me, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to cut this path, and I'm not going to worry about this because I have a solution. So I'm just going to cut right on down here. So it's going to take me a while to cut this path. And, you know, I'm decently fast at it, but I'm nowhere near as fast and proficient as somebody who uses this tool every day or one of these services is going to be. They're just way more efficient. So it's worth it for me and my business model to have somebody else handle this. So you want to try to have the least number of points possible when you're using the pen tool. You know, if you have a curve or an edge, you want to try to use minimum number of points because it's going to make it smooth. It's going to keep those turns and those straight edges smooth. And if you start to put down a lot of points, you're going to see some jaggedness or whatever in those in that path. So. And you can see I'm laying down this path on the edge or just inside the edge of this product, and that's so that I don't end up with any of the background in my final path, but also because I want to help sharpen this up just a little bit on these edges where our depth of field started lacking, and this will help us do that. So it's pretty common practice if you send to a retoucher or something that they will come right inside the edge like this. Just to help keep things sharp looking. So I'm going to come to pass, I'll double click, and that turns our one that we just created into a permanent path, so we can come back and reference that later. Now I do have this area here I can come in and I can cut that as well. So let me do that. I'll add that to our current path here. It will all become one. Not the most exciting thing, but it is a necessity, and I highly encourage you to start playing with the pen tool and try to at least build a basic understanding and proficiency with it for when you do need to cut your own path and you don't have the time to wait. So there's our path. Now we can right click and hit make selection, and then we can feather this. I usually feather anywhere from a half to 1 pixel, and that just helps keep it from having a real hard edge. I'm going to go with a half a pixel on this. We'll hit OK, and we'll come back to our layers, and for this one we can merge all our layers. We'll do a stamp visible, merging all our layers into one single. Actually, you know what? To work non-destructively, let's just group these. Command G. That puts all of these items in a group. Well, actually, I only put one item in a group. Let's grab them all. Let's grab them all and Command G, putting them all in a group. Now we'll add a layer mask. And you can see our selection when we chose our layer mask automatically dropped the background out for us. So now we can come in and we can just create a new layer. And we can put that under our group, and we will fill that layer with white. And now we can see what we did for our knockout, and that looks pretty good. We did a pretty good edge around that. Maybe soften up this corner just a little bit and that corner, and that's really easy to do because we did this with a mask. We can come in here with a brush, either white or black, depending on if we want to hide a little bit of the area or bring it back in. I'm going to go ahead and hide it. I'll go to a real hard edge brush, and we will just take that little nub off the end there. Maybe not that quite of a hard edge brush. I don't have a steady hand, not as steady as I wish I had, so there we go. That just looks a little smoother, yeah? Same thing there. Just to help soften out that edge a little bit. Let's see if there's anywhere else, maybe here. Good. That looks good. All of that looks okay. And you see how we got the illusion of a harder edge here, even though it was falling off back here. It looks like it's sharper back there. We have some issues in here with focus, and again, that's just going to be a limitation to shooting at with a single frame. I have an idea how we can resolve this, and I'll demonstrate it in just a minute, but what we've done is basically compositing, and this is how I do all of my shoots. The more complicated they get, the more layers I'm putting together. So I'll light for various parts of an image, and I'll just keep compositing them together. And so let's go over here and add one more element to our composite. Let's zoom in here. And what I want to grab here is the logo. So I'll hit Select, Color Range, and I'll just try to, I'm on a 31 average. Let me go to maybe a 3x3 average, so I'm just selecting a very little area here, and I don't know, let's see if that does it. Yep, we got it. So now what I need to do, it selected anything that was roughly that color, so I need to get rid of some of the other areas here that are roughly that color. So I'll hold down the Option key with my selection tool, and I'll just start to select everything that's not the area that I want to keep. Let's see what's happening there. Oops. Okay, so the only thing left is the logo in here that I wanted to keep. So I will hit Command J, and that puts that on its own layer. So now you can see that's really the only thing left. There's a little bit down here, and I can get rid of that. We'll use the eraser tool because we don't need that, and I'll just erase that area. And so that the only thing left is our little Thinnium area there. We can bring our background in, and I will take this, hit V for Move Tool, and I will drag this over to our other layer here and drop it down. And then I just need to line it up over top of the old one. And I can see there's a little bit left here. I'm going to hit Erase, and I'm just going to erase a little bit of the residual that's left. Good. Okay, now I just need to get it lined up right over top of our original logo, and they weren't at quite the same angle, so I'll hit Command T to transform. I'll hold down the Option key. I'll zoom in a little bit. hold down the Option key, and I'll just start to transform this so that it lays right on top as close as I can possibly get it. That looks pretty good. Let's see, maybe just a little bit more on this end. It's pretty tight. All right, we'll hit enter, bring that down. All right, now what we want to do is add a curves adjustment layer and clip it only to that. So we'll hold down the Option key and go between the two layers, and it creates a clipping mask so that it's only applying to the layer directly below it. So now we have our curves, and we can see where the data is. Right here where this little spike is, that's where the data is for that thinnium. So we'll just click in that area there and drag that up, and we can really make that logo pop, making it much more like the rendering that we were looking at. So the other thing that I think we need to do is desaturate that a little bit. And I can do it with hue saturation, or I can do it in curves. Hue saturation is easier. Again, Option right between the two layers and click. And because there's one layer that is clipped to layer 3 here, the one above it automatically clips to layer 3 also, instead of to the adjustment layer underneath it. As long as you have a clipping path, every clipping path you stack on top will always clip to whatever the base layer is that the first clipping path is applied to. Now we can drag the saturation down on this and get rid of that kind of blue tint. And I think that looks much better. So here's without and here's with. So I'm going to take these 3 and I will Command G and put them in a group, and we'll call this Thinnium. And this group we'll call our base layers. And so there we go. Our layer 2 we'll call background, just keeping things clean here so we understand what's going on. Always a good idea to label everything in case somebody comes in after you and wants to pick up where you left off. The other thing I notice is this little edge right here. I'm not crazy about that highlight back there, so we're going to come over again to our paths, and we're going to select our paths. I will Control click, make selection, and we will do half a pixel, and that's basically what I'm doing that for is so that when I do this cloning, it won't end up painting onto our background. So I'm going to use the clone tool. I'm going to come in here. I'm just going to start cloning this in a little bit. Oh, need to go back to layers. I'm on the background. Let's do our layer copy. All right, we'll just start cloning that in. Nothing crazy here. Can even clone from down here. It doesn't have to be right next to it. It's still black. Cool. I think that looks better. So let's deselect. And now we got, it's looking better there. I didn't like that lid edge. I think that's cooler to come down and kind of wrap into here. So looking good. Next thing I think I want to do is deal with this over here. So, you know, the depth of field, like I said, was an issue with this. And while we might get away with this, I wanted to show you a way to go a little bit further into compositing. So I went in and I captured one more frame of this product, and it is here in the selects folder. And I focused only on this area. So it's not really focus stacking where we would start here and we would just adjust our focus all the way across the product and combine them all in post. I actually specifically focused for this area here, and we can use this even though it's not the same place and shape as the one that we have that we're combining with. It's still able to be cloned in or brought in, composited in. I will edit with 8-bit. Take it into Photoshop, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So it's going to export this. This is just, it's a little too soft for me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this selection tool, and I'm just going to grab an area here that is Command J to put it on its own layer, V, and we will drag this up to our working layer here. All right, and I'm going to put it on the top because we have all kinds of clipping going on and stuff. So, oops, I think I actually dropped it in Thinnium. I did. Let's put it above that. Come on. There we go. Okay. And we'll call this USB. All right, so now what we can do is just drop the opacity down on this, and we can start to line this up. We can see where the old one was, and we can just kind of line this up in the same spot. So I'll use my Command tool, or Command T, to free transform this, and I want to make my pivot point here. I've already lined this corner up, and I want to keep that corner in one spot. So this little center dot here, you can see it's always in the middle of your transform tool. Drag that down to a point, it creates the pivot point at that location wherever that dot is, and that can be anywhere. It can be right here. It doesn't have to be on one of these anchor points. It could be anywhere. I could set that and it would become my pivot point. So I'm going to set it right here at the corner that I lined up, and now when we rotate this, it's going to rotate from that particular point, and I can kind of line this up with what's underneath it and make it look legit. So I think that's pretty good. Let's see. Drag our opacity up all the way. It's close. It's not perfect. We'll get it perfect. I think it needs to be a little bit larger too. It's just a little bit small. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down the Shift key, and I'll drag this corner. Holding down the Shift key enlarges everything proportionately. So I think that's closer. And then I'll keep turning this in until it's lined up, and I think that's pretty close. Let's see. It's close, real close. I think it's close enough that we can get away with that and nobody will know the difference. Yep, okay, I'm gonna call that good. We'll hit return, and we will drag the opacity up, and then what we can do here is add a layer mask. Oops, I'm stuck on opacity here. There. Add our layer mask, and we can invert that, and then we can brush in with a black brush or a white brush where we want that USB plug to show up. And yeah, we'll have to go back through and do another knockout, but no big deal. So I'm just going to bring this in and have it meld right into the old one there. Where the two kind of line up together. Get rid of that. We don't need it. Got our nice new sharp one in here. There we go. And this too, we have, we can see where we fell short for our alignment here. So this is where we can go back into our transform tool, and we can drag this out till it lines up right where we want it. Just like that. Good. And we'll brush some more. Let's come into 100% so we can see what's going on here. I think, you know what I can do to help make this easier is I can launch our path, and that's going to give me an area here where well, it's not going to work. So I'm just going to have to be precise, that's all. I was hoping I could use that path to my advantage, but it doesn't want to cooperate. So I'm going to have to size this a little bit more. About like that. About like that. Let's see how we're looking. It's pretty darn close. I think it's going to be close enough for horseshoes there. So we'll call that good. And let's just keep painting in our areas here. I just want to make sure that I have all of the information I need here. It looks like we do. And then I can come back out and I can get rid of anything that I don't need, like this. I'm going to keep that highlight there all the way down. There we go. Now I'll X, and I'll go with a little bit softer brush, and we'll click here, hold down Shift, click here. We get rid of a whole strip of stuff in one shot. Let's try it again. Click, hold down Shift, click, and it's looking pretty good. All right, so we'll go in and we'll just brush away a little bit of area here. Pretty good. Looking pretty good. I think that melds together pretty well. You'd be hard pressed to know that wasn't part of it. So now we've got issues down here. Let's come back over to layers and see what we got here. So this comes down. We need to go back into brush and keep painting this area in. Okay. All right, zoom back in. And this is just a little back and forth until we get X, until we get it just how we want it. All right, we may have to adjust this in just a little bit more. No biggie. Just painting in here. Trying to get things lined up. Okay. Again, we'll cut this when we do our cutout of our USB here. We'll cut that area, and it'll help sharpen it up. So let's see, what do we have here? Sharper? Yeah, let's use that. This whole thing sharper? It is. So we'll blend this whole edge in just a little bit sharper than what we had. Looks good. Go back with a little bit harder brush, and again we'll just paint out the area that we don't want. I like a little highlight there, that's okay, but I don't want to have oops. There we go. Legit. I don't mind that little highlight streak there. And this area here is something very easily I can come down. We can do a clone tool and we can kind of straighten that out if we want to. Just to help make it smooth, no problem. So coming back up to our USB, looks pretty legit. It blends right in. We can cut this area right here to straighten that out a little bit, and we'll do our knockout in here so that we have that area. And then I think we'll be good as far as compositing goes. Then we can do a little cleanup on our surface, apply a little contrast, a little sharpening, and I think we'll be done. Okay, let's get our pen tool again and cut this baby out. So we just need to cut this little area here. So pen tool, and let's go into 100%. Makes it much easier to cut stuff out. And again, same process. We'll just come around. I can move a point if it's not quite where I want it. And we'll just slowly work our way around the product. Easy breezy. All right. And again, I'm just slowly moving around this thing. We're doing just a little bit of a KO here so that we can come back and make that USB that we added blend with our original product. Now, this USB isn't something I shot in the tutorials, so you're not going to find it in your files there. But it's not even necessary. I just thought it would be kind of a cool thing to show as kind of an introductory to compositing and how we can use multiple pieces from a photo and blend them all in together, multiple pieces from a shoot rather, and blend them all in together and get one really good final image. And I think that it'll work out well. Again, it's not something that was necessary. We could have done without it, but I thought it was would be kind of cool to show, especially with some of the later segments that we have coming up that get more into compositing and such. So, and I can't even tell where that one is. I'm going to undo that. I can't see anything. Again, this is one that you can really just kind of get close, and if you cut a little bit into your product, it's actually going to help it sharpen it up a little bit. Nobody's going to be the wiser, and it'll get rid of any edge on the product that we don't want. I'm doing kind of a weird cutout here. I should have, whatever. Should have cut around my product and not the background, but it'll still work. It's kind of a weird way to do it, but no worries. What is going on here? Let's come around here. So, like I said, this will still work. I probably should have traced around my product instead of all out here. Would have made more sense, but whatever, this will work. As long as I can knock the background out, I'm happy. More than one way to skin a cat, you could say, although it's kind of a morbid thing. I don't know why you'd want to skin a cat, but one of those things that in Photoshop there's a million ways to accomplish the same task. So as long as I get that background knocked out, I'm happy. Like that isn't quite straight, but I can straighten it up through our layer there. Ooh, don't want to move that. So I don't like how we connected there. We come part way down. Don't like that either. There we go. There we go. All right, so let's see. We want to go, how are we going to do this? Let's go and right click, make selection, half a pixel's fine, and we want to fill this with black. So Option delete. Oops. We don't want to be on the layer, we want to be on the mask. Option delete. That gets rid of all that. And then we can come to a new layer, or we can actually go to our, we want to do this. We can do a new layer, and I can fill this with white. There we go. So it's kind of a weird way to do it, but it works. So point is, we knocked our background out. That's good to go. So let's put these in a group, and we'll call this USB. So I'm going to bring this USB down to below the Thinnium. We can lose our Thinnium for now, and we can take and create a stamp visible with all of this stuff. So let's go to Option and Merge Visible, and that will create one layer with everything underneath it on it, but it doesn't include our Thinnium area yet. And the reason that I want to do this is because I want to come up here and apply a filter Let's try blur, and let's try surface blur. I'm hoping that surface blur can help us get rid of some of this ugly stuff here, and it looks like it's going to. So there's the before, there's the after, and surface blur should not cause any issues as far as sharpness goes. Let's zoom in and see. Our edge sharpening should still be nice and sharp even with surface blur on. And it takes a second. You can see it's rendering and it's done. So I think it does help. I think it looks better. So let's go ahead and activate that. And then right on this layer that we did our surface blur on, we can go ahead and try to use this as our retouch layer and just smooth some things out. I see a little bit of issue here. Let's go ahead and start with our healing brush, and let's just heal a few things here. Now this is a stamp visible layer, so all the lower layers are combined on it, but it doesn't mean that we can't very easily start over with everything up to this point. We just get rid of this stamp visible layer. So let's see. I'm going to do this real quick, and you can take a little bit more time if and when you do this sort of thing. You don't want to spend all day watching me retouch dust, so I'm just going to go fairly quickly here, get a few key areas, and then I'm going to try to get a, let's go with a brush. Let's just paint. What the heck? There's not really, let's go with a bigger average, like a 31 average. Let's pick an area, color, and a brush, and we'll go to like a 50% opacity and a 50% flow. We'll bring it up, go to a soft edge, and we'll just sort of paint in these areas. I'm just kind of painting in. There's no texture on this surface anyway. It's supposed to be a smooth surface, so painting it is not getting rid of any texture here. You wouldn't want to do this with skin or something, but with what we're working with, it works great. And I don't mind coloring over the logo because we have our own logo layer, so it's a non-issue really. I'm going to drop down to 25, 20, and 20. Undo that last one just a little bit there. I think it's a little too heavy. There's a little bit of a gradient on our surface, and I don't want to lose that gradient. So I'm just going to take it down a tad. Again, you can take more time when you do this. I just want to give you the concepts here, what we're doing. The other thing I don't like here is this real hard edge running along here. So I'm going to try to knock just the abrasive edge off there. I don't really like it. So let's come down to our clone tool, and we'll just go, let's try 20 and 20 on our clone tool. Let's see how this works. What if we just lightly clone, try to take that edge off. Just to help kind of mold it into the other, go bigger. And it's just to taste. There's no right or wrong here. I think I'd rather see a little bit more of a gradual transition there. Okay, so it ain't perfect, but you get the idea, and you can play with this all day long until you get it perfect if you want to. I'm not going to spend the time right now. I'm more interested in just wanted to give you the intro on this to, doing compositing layers, which is what this one's really all about. So just a little bit of cleanup. I'm just cloning different areas here. Again, no right and wrong. I'm just moving through, trying to clean up some of the splotchiness. And it's much like cleaning skin. You spend as much time as you want. It's almost like it never ends. So anyway, that gives you a general idea. So we got a little bit smoother transition here. We got a nice straight line through the middle, all looking good. Let's go ahead, bring our Thinnium back in, and then let's take all of this stuff. We'll Command G, put it all in a group, and then we can add a curves adjustment to the group as a whole, and we can try to find some areas like in here that we want to bring up the values on a little bit, really make them pop. There we go. That looks pretty good. And then the other thing I think I want to do is try to brighten this up. I'm going to do it on another curves layer, and I'll just bring this area up a little bit. Not too much. So I'm going to invert that, and I'll go back in with a black brush at 100%, and we'll just want a low opacity. Go with a white brush, and we'll just paint in a little bit of this. You can see it's just slowly coming in. I'll go up to 50% on opacity and flow just to speed things up a little bit. And just a little kiss of highlight there. Just brightening all this up a tad. There. Good. Just to help give it a little bit of pop, let's back out. That helps a little bit. Now I mentioned before there's a little color in there, and I see it again now. So I'm going to come in with another curves adjustment layer, and I will hold down Shift and put a dot there and point, and that tells me we are up here in the info palette 44, 41, and 40. So we are definitely red in that area. Now I'll hold down Shift and Command, and we'll click inside of that dot. And what that's done on our curves layer that we just created here is it's given me a point on our curve for red, green, and blue. So if I go back to our red channel, I can see that the red is higher, 44, 41, and 40. So I need to bring the red down by just a few points. I'm just using the arrow keys on my keyboard, and I need to bring the blue up just by a point. And that neutralizes that area there. Now you can see it kind of threw off the rest of the image, so I'm going to invert again, and I'm going to take the selection or the mask that we had just created painting in that brightness area, and I'll hold down the Option key and I'll drag that up, and it'll overwrite the mask that we just created that came with our curves adjustment layer with that painting in that we'd already done, making that area neutral. So now we have a nice neutral area in here. We've added some curves. This area may be a little bright, so we'll do one more curve. We can just click down in here and we can bring that down a little bit, giving it a little bit more snap back. And let's see, overall, I think it darkens the whole thing down pretty nicely. I think I'm going to leave it except for down here. I think I like it a little bit brighter in this area down here, so I'm going to paint over this in black. I don't want to lose everything that we just did. Zoom into 100% so I'm not painting blind here. I like this whole area. You can hear my Wacom tablet there. Just painting in a little bit of the contrast we lost with that last adjustment. There we go. A little bit there. Looking pretty good. Again, I'm doing this quick. You can take your time. You can actually make a selection around this, and you can make this really tight mask here and have all of this perfect. I'm not going to take the time for this. I just want to give you an idea of how to accomplish it, and you can play with it on your own and actually put it into practice. So overall, that looks pretty good. So I think I'm happy with that. I just run over it, and Look and see if there's anything else that we missed. All that looks pretty good. All that looks pretty good. I like the contrast there now. This is nice and sharp compared to what we had. So all in all, I'm happy. I think we're done. That's our Thinnium. So let's go over what we've done here. We started out combining a couple of layers in our base layers group, and then we masked on just the bottom area here that was a little bit brighter. We put those into a group called base layer. Then we brought in an extra shot, which I just added just as a kind of a bonus here to show you how you can start to do, think when you're shooting. You can start to think about elements that you may need. I didn't do this on camera, but I kind of knew that we would need it, so I went ahead and grabbed it anyway. Just if we got into post and that wasn't real sharp, I could show you an option on how to overcome something like that. We composited everything into a single layer by using a stamp visible, and then we did some retouching and such. We brought our Thinnium over top, and that was from a whole different image, and we got that lined up, and we added some contrast to that, made it really pop, desaturated that. Put all those into a group, added some curves layers on top of them, one to bring up overall, then just to bring up the base area here, the next one to desaturate the base area there, and then the last one just overall curves minus the bottom area here to kind of bring everything back into relation. So all in all, pretty easy edit. It probably took me 2-3 times as long as it would have if I wasn't talking through it. The key here is learning to use that pen tool, because if you're going to be doing your own knockouts, you really got to get proficient with the pen tool. So that's it. Let's move on to the next one.